Hi, my name is Mike Kissinger. I'm here at the War Memorial Building in San Francisco, and I'm here to discuss a program called Winning the Employment Game. And the issue that I have is if you're a veteran who's looking for work, or you're an employer who's trying to find veterans to go to work, is what does success mean to you? To me, it means having the ability to do what it is that you want to do with your current occupation, with your current business, with your level of education, and with your past expertise. The best method for achieving success is to walk in the footsteps of those who are already there. I was previously discharged by a Special Forces group, and needless to say, our training was quite extensive. And I'm sure that as a veteran or as a military employer who had prior military service, yours was as well. The question that I may have for you is, what does success really mean? Success to me means the favorable and desirable outcome, the attainment of wealth, favor, eminence. According to Earl Nightingale from the Nightingale-Conant Corporation, it means the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. What I've seen in most people's lives is that their lives skyrocket once they focus their attitude on success. So the question for us, and most of the time, is to say, if you can tell us what you want, we will show you how to get it. The question for you is, what are your dreams for having fun, making money, and making a difference? This becomes your why. And see, if you haven't established a why as far as running your business or determining your life or establishing what it is that you want to do as a person who's transitioning from the military into a new career, you really haven't reached on the most important thing. The most important thing always is, why are you doing what it is that you're doing? Let's take a little time to ask ourselves a few questions. What prompted you to get into your present business or career? What do you like about it? What's stopping you from generating the life that you want, or anything in your life that you do want? People generally want 20 things in life. If you could have any one of those things, what would it be for you? What would you change in your business and career if you could? What would you change as far as your employment status was concerned? No matter how great a job, a business, or career is, it always has frustrations. What are some of yours? Or what do you anticipate may be some of yours, depending upon the job that you pick up? Where would you want to be operating your business or career 10 years from now? What would you anticipate it should be? If you're not out there hitting it every day, what's happening to your income, to your life, to your family? Can you retire before you die? If there was a way to change any of the things that you're considering now as far as what you're doing, what would they be? Our objective is to help you identify and accomplish your dreams through a proven plan of action. So let me ask you, what if there were more choices for you? How about unlimited income potential? How about new home ownership, paying for your children's education, retirement income for life, substantial tax advantages, personal growth, empowerment of others, total health and prosperity, maybe new cars annually, debt freedom, successful business ownership, world travel opportunities, better employment, the ability to make charitable contributions, unlimited family time, all the money that you want to earn through the course of your lifetime, more leisure time, belonging, recognition, security, freedom, a better lifestyle forever. You see, without a plan of action in order to get these things, it's going to be very difficult for you to know where your future is going to be. You need to make one choice. Think about this for a moment. One choice, just one, can change your life forever. Simply put, your life today is what your choices have made it. But with new choices, you can change the direction of your life this very moment. For me, that idea alone is highly motivational because it offers tremendous hope. Regardless of the circumstances that you may be in today, you have better hope for tomorrow. Your life-changing choice may be switch careers, leave the military, hire a different employee. It may be to go back to school, maybe stop drinking, maybe start a business, to manage your weight, to start a charity, just to name a few things. So what would change in your life if you could make more choices? What would you dream of driving? Where would you dream of living? Where would you like to go? Would you donate to a charity? Would you take care of your parents without financial difficulties? Would you save for a quality education for your children? Would you work in a different place? Would you enjoy more time and security with your family? What are you doing to reach those dreams? What's it costing you by not reaching those dreams? What is it costing your family by not reaching them? If you have the courage to do so, you could make any one of these choices or others today, and you would change your life forever. Sometimes it's difficult to make a choice. Sometimes it's not. We've all been there. So let me ask you, you're out there, you left the military, you're looking at, you have a business, you don't understand what's going on in the economy. What do you really understand about the economy? What is the financial outlook for most people today? Only 58% of Americans have a job right now. Only 56% of Americans are currently covered by employer-provided health insurance. The median yearly wage in the United States is $26,261. The average American household is $75,600 in debt. Only the top 5% of households have earned enough additional income to match rising housing costs since 1975. At this point, American families are approximately $7.7 trillion poorer than they were back in 2007. The poorest 50% of all Americans now own just 2.5% of all the wealth in the United States. According to one study, approximately 21% of all children in the United States were living below the poverty level in 2010. Today, there are more than 44 million Americans on food stamps. Nearly half of them are children. According to Newsweek, close to 20% of all American men between the ages 25 and 54 do not have a job at this moment. So where did all the jobs go? How about outside the country? If you're a blue-collar worker, you're a veteran who's come back from the service, if you're a person that doesn't fall within the higher echelon of wealth earners, you should give up hope. Or should you give up hope? Has the system failed you? You may stop waiting for good jobs to come back. You might want to consider doing different things. How about this? For every 100 people who reach age 65, 45% are financially dependent on relatives. 30% are financially dependent on charity. 23% are still working, and 2% are self-sustaining. After considering these facts, do you believe that using the present plan that you have will get you to reach your dreams and goals? You see, one of the things that happens when you start looking at determination and what's going on in the environment is whether or not you can winning the employment game, or do you need to start your own business? Do you have the determination to be successful in today's economy? Chuck Norris says, "I've always found that anything worth achieving will always have obstacles in the way. You've got to have the drive, the determination to overcome those obstacles en route to whatever it is that you want to accomplish." Jesse Owens says, "We all have dreams, but in order to make dreams come into reality, it takes an awful lot of determination, dedication, self-discipline, and effort." Dan Gable says that gold medals aren't really made of gold. They're made of sweat, determination, and a hard-to-find ally called guts. So for you, do you have the determination to succeed in today's economy and in this environment? Well, it depends on how smart you are. You see, there's a lot of veterans that are out there looking for jobs. They're looking for other ways to make money because there's almost 1 million veterans that are unemployed in America right now, and they really don't know the numbers. And what are the numbers that you should consider? What I find is a lot of veterans that are out there looking for work don't really go to veteran-friendly employers to find jobs. What they normally do is they use Career Builder, they'll use Monster, they'll use something else, and they really won't do the type of research that they need to find out who those friendly employers are. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, there are more than 3.6 million businesses owned by military veterans. They contribute more than $1.6 trillion in sales to the national economy. These firms employ more than 53,000 American workers and pay more than $13 billion in payroll taxes. So what does that mean to you? Why would you want to know what those numbers are? You want to know what those numbers are because if you're looking for a job and you're a vet, isn't it easier to have a vet hire a vet? Isn't that something that we all would say and do if we followed that pattern and went down that path? So what do employers say about hiring vets? Stephen A. Gold, president of Gold & Associates Global Services, says, "They just require less supervision. Plus, they're self-reliant. If I find the right veteran, I can send them anywhere in the world and trust that they will get the job done. That's crucial for my business." Martin Betchner, president and CEO of AccuTrust Products, Inc., says, "We get so many civilian employees who only want to last a short while because all they wanted was a job. They didn't really want to work. I don't see that with veterans. Veterans are hardworking, dependable, punctual, and they take pride in their appearance and in their work." Jeff Epstein, president of Heritage Global Solutions, Inc., says, "I don't hire veterans as some part of a social outreach program. I want the best for my company. I know that veterans on my team are the key to my success. Their employment is good business for Heritage." And Peter Negra, president of Jamaica Bearings Group, says, "Veterans are trained to get the job done in an organized fashion. They can overcome unexpected challenges and in many cases grow an organization." So if you're a veteran and you know that those are some of the things and the skills and the qualities that you have, why are you not going to veteran-owned companies and having them employ you? Maybe the reason is that you don't know that such companies are around. Maybe the reason is that you haven't really looked at the list of friendly employers, especially the top 100 list of friendly employers, to know where you can go. So let's go over that list. If you're looking for a job, there's all sorts of things that you can do. One of the things you should do is establish an employment development plan that lets you pick out the type of career that you want to consider doing, especially if you consider where most Americans are in today's economy. So let's go over a couple of them. What about Bose Allen Hamilton, a defense contractor? Or how about Mantech International Corporation, another defense contractor? Or CSX, a transportation company? Or URS Corporation, another defense contractor? What about Johnson Control? They focus on industrial products. Or how about USAA Financial Services, which focuses on finance? Or Northrop Grumman, a defense contractor? Or Union Pacific for transportation? Or the Home Depot, if you want to become involved with construction and different types of retail sales? How about Cube, a defense contractor? Or CSC, a technology contractor? Or ITT Corporation, a defense contractor? What about General Electric? What about North Fork Southern, a transportation company? Or Southern Pacific, an energy company? How about Snyder National, another transportation company? Or J.B. Hunt, transportation services? Those are just some of the top 25 defense contractors or friendly employer contractors that you might want to consider trying to submit an application to. Hi, just to add something that just came in, we have a program called Heart of a Soldier, which is scheduled for Wednesday, September 7th, 2011 at 8 p.m. at the War Memorial Opera House. This is for people who want to end up learning about the story of Rick LaColla, whose photo appeared on the cover of Joe Galloway's book, We Were Soldiers Once and Young, that was made into the movie We Were Soldiers starring Mel Gibson. This is in support of the San Francisco Veterans Memorial Project, the San Francisco Opera, and they're offering it free of charge to people who would like to participate and attend. There's a limited number of guest passes that a person can receive, which is basically 4. And if you would like to do that, you need to contact Mac McKinsey at 415-673-6672, extension 215. I say again, 415-673-6672, extension 215. Or visit the War Memorial website at www.marineclub.com. I say again, www.marineclub.com. I hope you enjoy that presentation and find it fascinating. It's an excellent program. One of the things that we find when it comes to having veterans employed is that veterans come in all sorts of different sizes and packages. Some have obstacles to their background and barriers to employment. Others are really perfect. Some just come back from the military or high-ranking officers. And because of the nature of what happens with the veteran through the course of his career, over the course of his life, we find that there are different things that have to happen. So we always recommend that if there is a service available to you, such as Swords to Plowshares, which is a company that I work with, you find out that we basically at Swords do a couple of things. We look for veterans who are seeking employment, who have different barriers to employment, and as a result of finding those veterans, we actually help them find employment. We train them through local different colleges, so that way as a veteran you don't have to use your GI Bill if you're just getting out of the military, but you can have the agency take care of some of those things. We also train veterans, and we do that by going through the various different local colleges and setting up programs. So if you come out of the military and let's say you want to go in the solar energy industry, What we would do is we would obviously test you to find out if you were qualified to do it. We would have you submit your application to one of the local colleges, and they would train you in order to do solar energy. And then as you completed that project, which is roughly 8 to 10 weeks, what would happen is then we would find employment for you, so that way you wouldn't have to be one of the 1 million vets that are unemployed. So by going through that, we have sort of a philosophy that basically goes, we find vets, we train vets, and we get you hired. How we do that depends on what your needs are. The training programs that we offer depends obviously on the type of service that you want. So we have the solar training program that we have you go through. That's expanded to different aspects of the solar energy industry. We have truck driving training that we have you go through. If you decide that you want to end up working as a security officer or whatever, we have training programs that cover that. So we also have truck driver training programs. So depending upon your needs as a veteran, these are the things that we focus on. If we go a little bit further, there's a way that we had to set this up in order to have that happen. And in order to do that, we set up a couple of different websites. One of the websites we set up was the Next Step Life Success Center, which is found at www.ajobforheroes.com. And what that is, it's a website that focuses on taking veterans from the battlefield to the boardroom, and by contacting and working with various employers in the Bay Area and California, to where those employers contact us, and we in turn have the veteran become in contact with the employer, and they make a selection process. We recommend different veterans based on what their backgrounds are, so that way they know exactly what type of employee they're going to get, and the veteran also knows what type of employer they're going to work with. In order to do that, we have broken that website down into jobs and careers that you might want to consider, so we put the best careers on. So it gives you an indication as a veteran, if you look at what you're doing initially and you don't know where to go, or you don't know what the plan is, or you don't really know how to set that up for yourself, you find out that over the course of life, and what I've seen is there's a lot of veterans that come back out of the military, and without an established 5-year plan or a 10-year plan on what they expect from their life, they have lots of entry-level jobs that they performed, but there's nothing specific about what they could have done. So rather than just sort of, I guess as Zig Ziglar says, you could either be a dangling generality or a meaning specific. If you want to be a meaningful specific, you need to have a plan on what it is that you want to do. And so that's what we try to do and point out to you by giving you the right training. We have a Hire a Hero program that does end up making the connections between the employers and the veterans. We also focus on such things as life success. A lot of times people don't really get into life success, and they don't understand how that happens or what it is. So what we do is we negotiate, and we have relationships with some of the best companies in the country, such as Nightingale Kona Corporation, to provide you with different types of training that allows that to happen for you. We also teach you how to get the dream job that you want. There's a process to get a job, and what most people think, if they were brought up sort of like in the industrial age as opposed to the IT age, they find out that they would write a resume, and they really wouldn't focus on what the employer was looking for. They would pass the resume out, whether it be on a job board or whatever, and they wouldn't really realize that employers are looking for employees who can actually perform services for them, because as I tell the veterans that I work with, you need to be able to produce a profit for an employer at least a minimum of 3 to 1. If you would go to work for Google, for instance, that is 13 to 1. So if I was to pay you $100,000 a year to work for us, and I'm a Google representative or whatever, I want to be able to make sure that you're going to generate $1.3 million for my company. So by changing the way that you think and looking at what it is you're trying to accomplish and do, you find out that if you take yourself out of it and you start looking at what an employer is looking for, you find out that it's easier for you to meet the needs and desires of what the employer has, as opposed to just focusing on yourself. And once you make that transition to understand that you're selling yourself to an employer with your ability to prove what it is that you could do for them, you now become highly employable, as opposed to just being another person that's out there. We also teach you how to end up taking steps for a successful career. We have an entire process, like I said, where we work and develop a plan with you to do that. Sometimes guys don't want to end up getting a job, and they want to end up starting their own businesses. So what we do in that process is we teach you, if you're a veteran, that this is something you can do. You just have to eliminate some of the fears that you have. So the better you're trained, the better you find out that you can do that. I taught at 3 universities for over 16 years, Golden Gate University and San Francisco State and Kanata College. And what I found out is that when you get a business degree from one of the local colleges, you find out that that's not necessarily what you need to know as far as building a business. So what I always recommend is that people who decide to start a job or start a business or do whatever, they go to experts who understand how that works, and they ask them specific things that will get them through the process. We also have a 30, 60, 90-day employment training system. So if you're looking for a job, if you look at what the Department of Labor says, right now it takes 40 weeks to get a job. So what we've done is we basically have reduced that down to about 30, 60, 90 days based on how much effort you put into it. A lot of times I talk to vets and I say, well, how many interviews have you had today? How many contacts have you made today? And what they think is, well, if I just send out something that's an email or whatever, that's going to end up getting me employed. But the reality is that you have to look at this as a battle plan. How are you going to approach this subject if you want to win? And the way that you win is you have to make at least 20 contacts a day, 25 contacts a day. You need to have 2 appointments every day. And if you do that the right way, you've learned the system that we try to teach you, what you find out is that you really do get a job in 30 days. One of the things that most people don't consider is that in America, there's 40 million jobs that change every year. What you hear from most people is that there really is not that many jobs out there. The reality is that as a veteran, based on who you work with and how you approach the subject, there's no reason why you cannot get a job. There's no reason why, if you look at the millions of veterans that are out there that are not getting jobs, that happens because they don't know. They're not educated. They don't understand that this is really a system. They don't understand that the benefits that an employer gets by hiring a veteran are substantial. And so let's say that you're out there looking for a job and you're not working with an agency such as Swords to where they say, look, here are all the benefits. If you go on the Job for Heroes website and you look under the reasons why an employer should hire you, there's about 25 different PDFs there that cover everything from taxation to the benefits you get from the government, so on and so forth. So it's a matter of looking at that and saying, well, yeah, I never thought about this because I'm a vet, but if you think about it from the point of selling you, you find out it's a much better approach to get exactly what you want. And that's under the link that's called Hiring the Right Employee. Some people want to live in the top 2% of Americans. If they look at living in the top 2% of Americans, what is it that is your plan? How have you really laid that out? So what we do in that particular site is provide you with the information to do that. We provide you with ways to develop wealth, because the thing now is, if you ask yourself, how are you going to live when you're 65 as opposed to how you're going to live at you're 22, 25, or 30, you realize that you have to think of the whole picture now, not just a limited thing and saying, well, I'm just going to live for today and find out what happens tomorrow. The second thing that we did, the Next Step Life Success Center focuses on employment for contractors and for veterans, and focuses on the relationship with employers. Second thing that we found out as we went around looking for different employers to hire our vets is that because of the way the economy was set up, we had to focus on actually making money for the employers and make the representation that if you hired our vets, we would help you make money. To do that, as I was trained by Jay Abraham, who's one of the highest paid marketers in America, with a system called the 3 Ways to Grow Your Business system. By implementing that system within a company, we find out that if the average company is doing $1 million a year, for example, and we implement the system, we make about a 10% change in that business. Rather than making $1 million a year, that company now makes $1.7 million a year. And what we try to do to employers is to show in a few minutes exactly how that process works. Most employers and most companies out there that are looking for work or trying to build their companies, what they focus on is only one area of how this works, which is basically finding new clients. But if they ever thought about increasing the number of sales that they had with their past clients or creating the frequency of sale, what you find out then is you have a full balanced attack on what it is that you can do to increase your profitability. As a result, let's assume that we improved your profitability to $1.7 million, over $1 million. There's no reason in the world why you would not hire a vet or a couple of vets to end up making sure that that works for you. So that's what we do with the Profit Builder site, which is at prosperitybreakthroughs4u.com. The next thing that we did in order to end up working with veterans was to establish how that Solar Works. And a couple of years ago, we created a Solar Works program to where we had the local different colleges say, yeah, we're going to implement the process. We had a report that was done by the government's office saying, these are the areas where we expect employment to improve. One of them happened to be solar energy. we created this site called CalVet SolarWorks, and as a result of doing it, we were able to find different veterans who wanted to do the work, because we've had the program going on for a couple of years. We've been quite successful as far as placement goes. Most of the veterans who have gone through this program are now working in an industry which is highly, obviously competitive, but if you're working in the construction industry, you find out that the construction industry, even I've had veterans go through that process and say, well, we're going to go learn how to do that. Well, the reality is you can go to work in the construction industry, but how long is this going to take? And what we find out is, I received an article yesterday that was talking about the fact that the construction industry is not going to improve to 2013, 2014. So the money that's there, if you're deciding that that's an industry that you want to go in, is just not there. So what I suggest for anyone who is looking for a job is that they go on career builders. And let's say they decide they want to be a nurse, or they decide that they want to be a photographer, or they want to be a construction worker of some sort or another. You go on career builders and you type in your name, you type in the designation, you type in the location that you want to go to, and as a result of doing that, it will tell you how many jobs are basically available. When you do that, you may find out that there are no jobs. So why would you select to go to college, for instance, and take these programs that they offer at night, when in fact you're not going to get employed anyway? It's easier to look at an industry to where it's exploding, and because of the way the country is going and the way different jobs are leaving the country and so on and so forth, you want to start looking at industries that are anticipated that they're going to explode. One of them that I always refer people to, especially if they have some skills, is to look at the direct selling industry, because in the health and wellness, it's an exploding industry that people expect. And the people who've researched this industry expect it to become $1 trillion a year industry. It's just like looking at IT. IT has been around for a long time, but that's an industry that's going to greatly expand. If you look at that versus looking at something that you're doing now, you might find out that with a little planning that will work for you. Okay, as a postscript to what it is that we said today, I know there's a lot of information there, and I know there's a lot of things that you want to know more about. If you have any questions, if you're a U.S. military veteran, what I'd like to get from you, what most of the agencies will ask you for, is a copy of your resume and DD-214. That's the starting point, so that way we know that you are who you say that you are and how we can end up working with you. Also, that triggers various benefits from the government to employers, so it's something that's important for us to be able to get. On the other hand, if you're an employer and you're looking for a veteran to work with your agency or work with your company, all you would need to do is to contact us, and we will provide you with the type of veteran that you're looking for. We do a lot of recruiting, and we also do a lot of analysis, and we work with all kinds of different companies to make sure that the employer gets exactly who they want under those circumstances. We also go through the process of explaining all the benefits, the tax benefits, and discounts that you can have in order to hire that veteran. So we also end up making sure that, depending upon who the veteran is and depending upon the type of work and services that are there, we provide everything from anything that would eliminate any obstacle that that veteran could have working with you. So if you are either one of those persons and you want to end up contacting me and you have any questions, please contact me at 415-678-9965.